Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kane pushes back as Phyllis pushes buttons. Chelsea and Adam head to Crimson Lights for coffee and plotting. Adam is undoubtedly tense about Kane's return to Genoa City. In addition to seeing his hot and cold powerhouse father, he now has to contend with a recently minted millionaire. Will poor Adam ever be the best dog in Genoa City? Speaking of Kane, he and Phyllis are holed up in their hotel room. She is fervently committed to joining and remaining on his squad. Over the years, Red has damaged a lot of bridges, but not this one. Not quite yet, anyhow. Can she get Kane to trust her, though? Later, when Phyllis is on her way to society, she encounters Jack and Billy. Before letting the brothers have their own tense conversation, Phyllis can't help but poke a few buttons. Billy harassed, Victor's unexpected deal, and Chelsea's crisis. Phyllis Summers irritates Jason Thompson's character, Billy Abbott. In addition, Victor Newman strikes an unexpected bargain. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Harassed Billy Abbott. Billy is going to have a drink at society. Billy and Jack Abbott will have a heated exchange. Even though he didn't request any additional company, Phyllis will nevertheless go up to him. Naturally, Billy's deal with Kane Ashby is something that Phyllis wants to end. Thus, be prepared for Red to become irritable and wish for him to lose it. Read more. Discover the events of Y&R's most recent episode. The crisis of Chelsea Lawson. She will have to choose a side with Chelsea. Victor has instructed Adam Newman to complete the hit piece on Billy, as fans are aware. Adam has been putting it off, though, in the hopes that Victor will have more important things to deal with. Victor is adamant about carrying out his plans despite the fact that he truly does with Kane. Chelsea will have to choose a team. Chelsea has been working to shield Billy from the upcoming hit article all along. Adam has managed to delay Victor thus far, but that will stop. Chelsea will have to choose between the two sides. But will she choose wisely? Victor Newman's unexpected offer. According to previews for tomorrow's episode of The Young and the Restless, Victor will ultimately make an unexpected and shocking agreement. The Abbott family may be involved. Melody Thomas Scott's character Nikki Newman is correct when she says that the Abbott and Newman families would be better off cooperating to overcome a greater threat. But given the intense hostility between Jack and Victor, that will be challenging. But Victor may actually go ahead and make a deal with Jack. They've already done it. Lily Winter's predicament. She may choose to follow Victor's advice when she is with Lily Winters. Could she offer Kane false hope instead of fighting him? Will she later come to regret that? Kane appears to be the kind of man who means well but always ends up in trouble. Stay tuned because there will be a lot to overcome because Kane is largely to blame for 3 deaths. It might have just saved a beloved character who we were afraid would be lost forever. Thank you. It's true that we were furious that Audra agreed to let Victor sex her in exchange for his financial support of her new business. However, the character reached a significant turning point in the August 6th episode, giving Jack a speech so incisive that we were shocked it didn't involve blood. In what ways did Audra correct Jack and Kyle? It all began when Nikki reprimanded Audra with her nose in the air, acting as though she had never carried out a plot herself. Jack was then given the task of reading Audra for filth. She gave him the opportunity to express how despicable it was of her to attempt to split apart Kyle and Claire in order to steal money from Victor's wallet. However, she then let loose in a truly amazing way. And what? She joked. Kyle is just this lost little lamb with no free will. But by all means, Jack, shield your grown son from the terrifying woman. Actually, you should consider giving him a different title at Jabbo or another category. You ought to construct a home for him. Give him another trust fund. She continued cynically, protect him at all costs, because I'm the villain here. How frightening for all of you. Why was Audra's speech so amazing? Not to mince words, but Audra's speech was absolutely brilliant. She would not allow Jack to pretend that Kyle, who had an affair with her before to his divorce from Summer and has a child with Tara, who was married to Ashland at the time Harrison was conceived, was a simpleton. Audra also mentioned a common complaint we have with Young and Restless, that 99% of the characters are Richie Riches who have never had to work for their wealth. Billy, Nick, Victoria, Abby, Lily, and Kyle were all born in the executive suite. Cain benefited much from his father's machinations and Catherine's generosity. In addition to being adopted by the wealthy Winterses, Devon also inherited a fortune from Catherine. We therefore adore the concept of a character on the canvas who is more akin to Ryan McNeil or Drusilla, a have-not who must work hard and do all it takes to get to where everyone else in the community is. We say, "Go, Audra." And a victory for all of us without. The tension in Genoa City was nearly as thick as the humidity outside Crimson Lights. Inside, Adam Newman stirred his coffee like it had personally offended him. He wasn't pleased, not about Cain Ashby's unexpected return to town, not about Victor breathing down his neck, and certainly not about Chelsea sitting across from him, shooting worried glances at her phone every 5 seconds. "You're distracted," Adam finally said, leaning back. Chelsea set her phone down with a sigh. "Can you blame me? Cain being back shifts everything." Adam smirked bitterly. "Tell me about it. I used to be the wild card. Now I'm just another suit trying to stay ahead of a man who doesn't even need a legacy. He's already made himself one." Meanwhile, across town at the Grand Phoenix, Cain was holed up in his penthouse suite, staring at the ceiling as if it held all the answers he hadn't yet found. The return to Genoa City hadn't been subtle or smooth. He wasn't here to reconnect or make amends. He was here to take what he believed was his, and there were many who'd better get out of his way. Phyllis Summers wasn't one of them. At least, not yet. She had come bearing wine, strategy, and her trademark blend of mischief and manipulation. Room service said you hadn't ordered anything except black coffee and a protein bar, she quipped as she pushed her way in. "I figured you could use something a little more decadent." Cain didn't look at her. Not interested in wine, and definitely not interested in games. Phyllis smirked, stepping deeper into the room. "Oh, honey, you came back to Genoa City. Games are all we have here. But I'm not your enemy. In fact, I might be your best bet." Cain stood, finally meeting her gaze. "You want in. That's what this is. You always want to be in control, in someone's head, in their bed, in their plans." Phyllis didn't flinch. "I want in on the winning side. And right now, that's you. Or it could be if you play it right." "You think I trust you?" Cain asked, folding his arms. Phyllis stepped closer. "No. But you should trust that I hate Billy more than I like winning. And right now, he's teamed up with you. That makes things messy." Cain narrowed his eyes. "You want me to cut Billy loose?" "Not just cut him loose," she purred. "Make him bleed for ever thinking he could build something without you running the show." Cain's laugh was short, hard, and bitter. "I don't need your help with Billy. I have enough ammo already. But you? I don't know where your loyalty is, if you even have any." She leaned in, her voice lower. "I'm loyal to opportunity. And right now, that's you. But hey, if you want to keep doing the lone wolf act, be my guest. Just don't come crawling when Billy decides you're the problem in the partnership and sells you out to Jack." And with that, she left, tossing the keycard she'd swiped from his nightstand onto the table without looking back. Cain didn't stop her. But his jaw tightened. She'd pushed his buttons. And he would push back. Later that day at Society, Phyllis strutted in like she owned the place, which, at one point, she practically had. She spotted Billy at the bar, sipping bourbon and brooding like a man who'd run out of excuses. "Imagine seeing you here," she said, sliding onto the stool beside him without an invitation. Billy didn't look thrilled. "Go away, Red. Not in the mood." Phyllis gave a slow, mocking smile. "Funny, you always used to love when I showed up uninvited. Nostalgia doesn't do it for you anymore." Billy took another sip. "We're not doing this." "Oh, but we are," she said sweetly. "Because you're doing something incredibly stupid. And I just love watching you crash and burn." Billy turned to her, jaw clenched. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I do," she said with a wink. "Teaming up with Cain? You think that ends well for anyone?" Billy's eyes darkened. "It's business." Phyllis raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that? Because Jack doesn't seem to think so. Neither does Lily. And guess what? Neither does Victor. You've walked right into a trap. And Cain? He's going to snap that trap shut the second he smells weakness." Billy scoffed. I'm not weak. No, she said, leaning in. You're arrogant. There's a difference. And Kane's not going to stab you in the back. He's going to smile at you while he does it. Billy stood abruptly, nostrils flaring. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Oh, immensely, Phyllis said, rising to meet his glare. But what I enjoy more, watching you realize I was right. Jack entered just in time to see the tension. Should I come back later, or are you two done circling each other like snakes in a barrel? Phyllis grinned. All yours, Jack. I was just reminding Billy who's holding the matches while he stands in a puddle of gasoline. She breezed out, leaving the brothers to another round of half-truths and full-blown resentments. Across town, Chelsea was facing a crisis of her own. At the Newman office, she paced like a caged animal. Victor, this hit piece, it's cruel. And pointless. Victor Newman sat at his desk, unmoved. It's necessary. Billy is a liability, and I intend to protect this family from anyone who dares undermine it. But Adam hasn't even. Victor waved a hand. Adam will do as he's told. He's lucky I'm even letting him handle this. Chelsea took a breath. And if I tell Billy? If I warn him? Victor's eyes sharpened. Then you'll be picking a side, Chelsea. And you'd better be prepared for what comes with that choice. Chelsea left, shaken, torn between her loyalty to Adam, her conscience, and whatever strange sense of justice she still clung to. Back at the hotel, Kane received a message. Phyllis, of course. Hope you had fun with Billy. I sure did. He rolled his eyes but couldn't ignore the fire it stoked in him. Phyllis was more than a nuisance, she was a wild card. And that made her dangerous. Just then, a knock at the door. He opened it to find Lily standing there, arms crossed. You have a minute? He nodded, surprised but curious. She stepped in, quiet for a beat before speaking. Victor approached me. Kane blinked. And? He wants me to manipulate you. Pretend I want to reunite. Play you until I get what he needs. Kane stiffened. And you're telling me this because? Because I'm not doing it, Lily said. But I need you to know, people are coming for you, Kane. They're not just going to let you carve out your piece of the pie. He looked at her carefully. Thanks for the warning. But they'll have to do more than come for me. They'll have to survive it. Meanwhile, Audra Charles was taking her own stand. At the Jabot office, Jack and Nikki had both just finished dragging her name through the mud for the umpteenth time. But this time, Audra didn't shrink. Oh, please, she said, eyes blazing. Spare me the moral high ground. You're all dirty, but I'm the one who gets burned. Jack scowled. You tried to manipulate Kyle. No, she snapped. Kyle let himself be manipulated. You think he's innocent? He's just like every other spoiled little heir in this town, thinking the world owes him a throne. Nikki gasped. You're out of line. Audra stood taller. No, I'm finally in line with myself. I may not have a trust fund or a famous name, but I earned every inch of power I have. I clawed for it. And I won't apologize because the rest of you were born with silver spoons and golden parachutes. Jack was speechless, Nikki stunned. Audra left them both to stew, her heels clicking like gunshots as she exited. Night fell, but the drama didn't. In every corner of Genoa City, the war drums beat louder. Kane, leaning back in his chair, rereading Lily's warning. Phyllis, sipping wine with a smile, already planning her next move. Billy, spiraling as he wondered if anyone was truly on his side. Chelsea, sitting alone in her apartment, holding her phone, debating whether to dial Billy's number and spill everything. Audra, rewriting the rules for women who weren't handed a fortune but built one themselves. And above them all, Victor, watching like a chess master, confident, cunning, and completely unaware that the pieces on his board were already rewriting the game. Because in Genoa City, pushing buttons is only the beginning. It's who pushes back that decides the ending. And Kane Ashby? He was just getting started. As midnight approached in Genoa City, the storm clouds outside were nothing compared to the brewing emotional chaos inside its most powerful players. In his suite, Kane paced restlessly, still rattled by Lily's warning and Phyllis's manipulations. He wasn't a fool, he knew he was walking a tightrope, with the Newmans on one side, the Abbotts on the other, and Phyllis trying to cut the rope altogether. But what no one seemed to grasp was just how much Kane had changed. He wasn't the desperate outsider anymore. He was calculated now, colder, sharper, and ready to outplay even the most seasoned liars in this city. His phone buzzed. A text from Billy. "We need to talk. Alone." Kane stared at the screen. Of course Billy was unraveling. Phyllis had gotten under his skin like a splinter. That was her talent, finding a man's soft spot and pressing until it bled. But Kane had no intention of being Billy's therapist or his shield. Meanwhile, at Phyllis's suite, she stood in front of the mirror with a wicked smirk playing on her lips. Her confrontation with Billy had gone exactly as she planned. She'd planted the seeds of distrust, and now all she had to do was wait. With the right push, Billy would turn on Kane. And when that happened, she'd be there to scoop up the pieces and the power. But her smug satisfaction was short-lived. There was a knock at her door. She opened it to find Victor Newman. "I hear you've been stirring the pot," he said, his voice low and unamused. Phyllis folded her arms. "Don't I always?" Victor stepped in, his eyes narrowed. "You're playing games with Kane and Billy. Normally I'd enjoy that. But right now, I need Kane focused on what I want. Not whatever revenge fantasy you're cooking up." "I don't answer to you, Victor," she snapped. He smiled, cold and warning. "You do when you start interfering with my plans." Phyllis didn't respond right away. She knew that tone. It was the sound of a storm gathering. Elsewhere, Billy stood alone outside society, phone in hand, staring at Kane's lack of reply. He was unraveling faster than he realized. Phyllis had wormed her way into his thoughts, igniting every old insecurity. Could Kane be trusted? Was Phyllis right? Was he being played? From a nearby car, Chelsea watched him. She had driven there in a panic, ready to warn him about Victor's hit piece. But seeing him standing there, vulnerable and unsure, made her hesitate. She wasn't sure if telling him would protect him or destroy him. Inside Jabot, Jack sat at his desk, still fuming from Audra's takedown. But beneath the anger was something more troubling: doubt. Audra's words had struck a nerve, forcing him to wonder, had he underestimated her again? In Genoa City, trust was a currency more rare than wealth. And by the looks of it, everyone was about to go bankrupt. Back at the Grand Phoenix, Kane finally stopped pacing and sat at the edge of his bed, fingers steepled beneath his chin. The city was spinning around him, Phyllis lighting matches, Billy getting burned, Victor pulling strings, and now Lily feeding him half-truths wrapped in regret. He couldn't afford to lose focus. He had survived worse: scandal, exile, even near death. But this was different. Now, he wasn't the outsider. He was the threat. And everyone knew it. Suddenly, there was another knock at his door. This time it was Chelsea. "Mind if I come in?" she asked quietly. He nodded, surprised. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I might as well have," she whispered as she stepped in and closed the door behind her. "I need to tell you something about Victor." Kane sat back, jaw tense. "I'm listening." "Victor has Adam working on a hit piece," Chelsea admitted. "About Billy. But with you back in town, you're his bigger target. He doesn't just want to discredit you, he wants to dismantle you." Kane raised an eyebrow. "And you're telling me this out of the goodness of your heart?" Chelsea hesitated. "No. I'm telling you because I'm sick of being used. And because part of me thinks you deserve a fair shot." Kane looked at her for a long moment. "Appreciate the warning. But Victor's made a career out of trying to crush people. He's not the first to come at me and he won't be the last." Chelsea nodded, clearly conflicted. "Be careful. This war, it's just beginning." Meanwhile, Phyllis was seated in the Grand Phoenix bar, swirling a martini and watching the storm through the window. She hadn't expected Victor to confront her so directly, but in hindsight, she should have. He always had a nose for power plays. Still, she wasn't afraid. She was just recalibrating. Victor was dangerous, yes. But he underestimated her. Just like Billy did. Just like Kane might be doing now. That's what made her so powerful. People never saw her coming until it was too late. At Chancellor Winter's, Lily sat in her office staring blankly at her laptop. She had made her choice to warn Kane rather than deceive him. But the consequences of that choice weighed heavily. Victor wouldn't take her disobedience lightly, And neither would the board if it got back to them. Her career, her reputation, it was all on the line. But something inside her refused to betray Kane, even after everything. Was it guilt? Loyalty? Or something far more dangerous? And finally, in the shadows of society, Billy stood alone, scrolling through news alerts and investor updates. Every story about Kane's return, every whisper of corporate shifts, made his stomach twist. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being boxed in by Kane, by Victor, by Phyllis. The very people he once thought he could manage were now circling him like vultures. In Genoa City, alliances shift like sand, and the next blow can come from anyone: an ex-lover, a friend, even family. And as the rain began to pour outside, it became clear. No one was safe.